Hi, campaigners. Welcome to Campaign Mode,
a gaming podcast meant for marketers to better understand the industry.
We are your hosts. I'm Sammy Barnett, head of gaming at TMA.
Morgan Bridges, account supervisor at TMA.
If you have any questions, want to reach out to collab, all of our information is down below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We hope you enjoy.
Good morning, campaigners.
Good morning.
Or maybe good afternoon, depending on what time you're tuning in.
We're coming to you from a cloud today, so welcome.
It's a rainy, dreary day here, but we're excited to be here. How are you doing, Morgan Bridges?
I'm pretty good, Sammy Barnett. How are you?
Good.
How's your 2025 so far?
Good. Busy.
It is busier than normal.
Yeah.
Unsure why, but
I love it.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's just dive right in. So we've done an episode before about transmedia and the importance of it, you know, how these different industries are coming together with
mainly
gaming.
film so far.
Yeah, we have talked a lot about entertainment, but given this episode will come out after the Super Bowl, so it's obviously going to be a hot topic from here until then. So we wanted to talk about sports and gaming.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get into it. So just before we dive in, obviously esports is a sport in itself, right? But we are talking more for this episode around the culture side of gaming.
Yeah.
I think, you know, just with this audience and the type of content we're going to be talking about, it just makes more sense from a branded perspective to talk about that. All right, stat ticker. Do you want to?
Yeah, stat ticker will start us off with a fun little stat. So we mentioned this before, I think in episode 3, but the younger gamers and the younger generations are actually huge cord cutters. I don't think that's a surprise, but 43% of them actually no longer even watch traditional sports. So we are quickly losing the audience that was, so massive in previous generations to gaming. Which is, interesting. But I think we definitely want to talk about why they're coming back.
And I think, too, that the younger generations, as they grow older, we're going to start to see more and more people tuning into more gaming content than traditional sports.
That is going to be interesting. And I think they're already, which we'll talk about, they're already trying to find ways to bring that audience back into the traditional sports fold. But it does make me wonder what is going to happen to traditional sports when those older generations age out and, gaming is such a hot topic. So,
yeah, I mean, what we've seen from Gen Alpha so far has been that they're spending more and more of their leisure time gaming in comparison to everything else. So let's talk about the evolution of sports and gaming. I think first we saw these gaming companies empowered the popularity of traditional sports, right? Yeah. So you have NBA 2K for basketball.
EAFC, FIFA.
Used to be FIFA for soccer or football.
If you even go back to like backyard sports, remember like backyard baseball back in the day? So it's always been like this. It's always had its place with traditional sports in games.
Totally. I think it's a very easy crossover functionality that, all types of people like to play.
For sure.
Madden is a huge one. College football just launched last year. They're about to launch this year for year 2. So I think I saw a lot of TikToks too around that season of everybody's husbands being lost to college football. So for our millennial nostalgic gamers, that was a big title. But so it's just always like it's a very natural progression to have a sports title in a video game. Easy to play.
Natural Venn diagram of people.
Yeah.
Perfect video game to create.
Yeah.
It was really easy.
Yeah. So if you as a brand are doing something in a traditional sport, like, you're showing up in the NBA or NFL, then it's an easy tie to then show up in one of these sports games.
It's a really easy next step.
You can kind of mirror what you're doing in traditional sports into a video game and create that red thread connection and meet gamers and sports lovers alike, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our traditional titles. It's kind of like the start of everything.
The baseline.
I'd say baseline, yeah. And then you have athletes. right? They're kind of showing up in different ways.
More traditional athletes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have athletes who are investing in gaming, and then you have athletes who are streaming. So let's talk about athletes that are investing in gaming.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, several years ago, when people started to actually take notice of gaming being a big category, we saw people like LeBron James um, start to kind of have a connection and an investment level in like Phase Clan. That was like the
The
early,
sneaker.
yeah, the sneaker. It was like the early days of, when I say early days, what, 5, 6, 7 years ago,
Yeah.
of people starting to take notice. So
I think it was the early days of people starting to realize that these organizations and these personalities have these powerful audiences,
yeah,
and there's a connection there. So I think that was like the big time frame in which these athletes started to see that like benefit for them, and garnering
yeah.
a new audience.
We also saw like a bunch of, um, like different athletes and also sports teams. I can't think of a name, actually having like an esports org equivalent. So they were like, hey,
Hmm.
we are going to actually invest in or create our own esports team. So like the Cowboys and Complexity or
Hmm.
the Dallas Mavs. Sorry, we're in Dallas. We're just giving you
Yeah.
Dallas
Dallas examples.
references, but there are more than that.
The Maps gaming
It became
team.
something that they were like, hey, we need to start investing and paying attention to this. So that was kind of the next step, I think, from there was so many years of sports games, and now like athletes themselves are starting to pay attention.
Yeah. And see the benefit in working with these teams.
Totally.
And then you have like um you have collaborations with actual like gaming endemic companies like a HyperX that
Yeah.
does keyboards. So HyperX is like top notch in keyboards, headphones.
They're like your gamer tech.
Yeah, they anything you
Your
need.
peripherals, if you ever hear that.
Peripherals, yes. So a peripheral is anything you need to game with. HyperX sells it.
Yeah.
And more. So much.
So much more.
But NBA
Also, we're not
star.
sponsored by HyperX.
No, but if you want to.
Hashtag not spons.
If you look at Gordon Howard from the NBA, he did a collab with
Yeah.
HyperX a while ago. So
Yeah.
there's I think
Just
we've
different
made this
examples.
point, but yeah, athletes are not only seeing the power of the audiences, but I think the power of their bank accounts
Of
from
their bank
working with these
accounts.
companies. So that's kind of like how they get involved from a
Yeah.
partnership collaboration. But then we saw a slew of athletes starting to stream, like creating their own Twitch channels.
I loved this is, more so now. Like I think we've said this, but the just chatting feature on Twitch is like the number one category. But I have loved to see the transition of people on Twitch and YouTube just streaming games to people started to realize I don't just have to play games. I can talk to my audience. I can make music. I can cook. I can do art. And so I think athletes were kind of the first, like the next set of like non-gamers who were like, hey, I like to video games. So now I can stream. And we see them play games, yes, but they're also just connecting to that audience in a fun way.
Yeah. And something to talk about too is like they're not just streaming sports games. Like they're
Expanding.
Yeah, like you see so many people playing Call of Duty or
Yeah.
other Fortnite,
They're playing the games that everyone else is.
Yeah,
They want to be in on that.
Yeah, they're getting involved in the community in a authentic way.
I think
but there's also athletes from all different sports.
yes,
Right.
It's not just like NFL.
Right. I think we've talked a lot about NFL and NBA, but then you have like a Charles Leclerc from F1.
Lando Norris is hysterical.
Yes.
Those
Lando
are F1.
Norris. Yeah. Both F1 drivers, and they both have a presence on Twitch or YouTube, and they're streaming when they can.
And I think it's also it's smart for them because it's a way for their fans to get to know them in a way outside of the car or off the court or off the field. In the same way we would I'm sure I'm not a publicist, but I would assume that publicists are like, hey, you need to have a social presence because more fans equals more licensing deals, this, that, and the other. This is a very easy way for people to get to know you.
and build like further your community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so smart.
I think one tidbit to give here is we worked with Juju Smith-Schuster.
I was going to say, are you going to talk about your personal experience in this?
Yes. Well, only my fondest memory of that work was when he brought his little French bulldog named Bougie, and I was more starstruck by the dog.
By Bougie, yeah.
Yeah, no. But we worked with Juju Smith-Schuster on a brand, and basically a winning consumer got to come play him at the Pittsburgh when he was
at the Steelers
at the Pittsburgh Stadium.
In Madden,
1v1
right?
Madden. And just like watching this everyday Joe play Juju and like the camaraderie, and he, it was just so natural, and it was such a like meaningful moment. He was so excited to meet him. And then but that just goes to show like connecting. You play a sport on a screen and you can only connect so far, but like when you're playing a video game with somebody, you have that further connection. Yes. You have that conversation. So
like imagine the difference of actually playing Juju Smith-Schuster in like tag football or touch football. I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. In touch football, like you're not
I'm
really.
Like, yeah, that's right.
That's right. You're not really engaging him really. Y'all are both running. They had time to sit down, play. It was fun. They got to talk to each other. So it's so much more intimate when you're playing against someone.
And I think that mirrors how you're playing a video game every day. Like you're sitting there playing, talking, whatever. That's just a more intimate,
so
like you said,
intimate,
connection. Yeah. So, yeah, I think as a brand, it's really smart to leverage these types of athletes which you should have a gaming strategy at this point.
Not enough.
But leveraging athletes to go along with what you're doing in sports and gaming to pull those audiences together and watch a deeper connection with an athlete, but also that builds a deeper connection with your brand.
Yeah.
So it's a smart tactic.
So like that was, like we said, base level. Then we saw athletes kind of understanding the value in gaming. But then I think the broader traditional sports market started to be like, based on that stat I gave you earlier, how do we connect? How do we get their audience back? And so there is this larger cultural impact, but also it kind of goes both ways. So gamers, yes, the sports platform as a whole started to see, hey, we need to be in the gaming audience. But we also see streamers and gamers themselves who are sports fans and have started to kind of cross over into that kind of like a mutually beneficial partnership amongst the two of them. To kind of capture new audiences on both sides.
Yeah. An example would be, not to harp on Dallas again, but Tim the Tap Man and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Always been a Cowboys fan, even though he doesn't live here. But he, he became part of the Cowboys organization at one point. He's gone to games, been on the sidelines, ninja with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So just, I think it's really smart for these huge organizations like the NFL teams to bring in these audiences, because that's another note too. Like anytime you bring in these audiences that have these younger followings, you are bringing them into your brand too.
Exactly.
To your feel. Like, there's diehard fans all over, but maybe somebody was like, oh, I kind of like football, not super diehard, and then they see a Tim or a Ninja on the sidelines, they're like, oh, let me pay attention more to,
yeah.
And not gaming, like think about Taylor Swift and the Chiefs.
Exactly.
Like, it's a good way to bring digital audiences into your fandom.
And I will say that I think the NFL has done the most work to capture that gaming audience. They had a series called Tuesday Night Gaming, where they brought on NFL players, and every week it was kind of a series during the NFL season. Like you said, these organizations are actually taking these huge streamers who are fans seriously. I think other sports, the NBA, obviously they have 2K, so they're going to lean in there. But I am the only other example I can find of this is like Nate Shot from 100 Thieves doing the hole-in-one challenge.
You mean outside of the NFL?
Outside of the NFL.
Yeah.
and Tim did, I think he wants to do a NASCAR or he's done a NASCAR
He
thing
did the
before. He's
Augusta
done an Augusta
golf
thing, but
tournament too. Yeah.
I would love to see more sports leagues lean in even heavier to this crossover because I do think it's so smart. And I think we will see that.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, the NFL by far has been the most to invest
Mm-hmm.
in that crossover.
Mm-hmm. And also a big moment coming is the World Cup
Yeah.
in
North America.
Yeah, in North America, 2026 will be here. So I think that's, if you're doing something at the World Cup, I think we mentioned, but Neymar, he's been streaming. There's definitely football or soccer athletes that show up in the space. And so I think, if you're doing something with the World Cup, then let's talk. Let's do something with FC or something with streamers around the World Cup. I think there's definitely so many opportunities to kind of tighten that narrative and bring it all together.
And I think it doesn't have to just be like, I'm going to bring NFL players to play Madden or I'm going to bring soccer. I think there is something to getting them outside of their sport and having, seeing them play just everyday games.
Mm-hmm.
So
just leverage the power of the influencer. Right.
So, leverage the power of the influencer. Do we want to talk about like the key takeaways? I mean, you mentioned these throughout, but how can a marketer, what can they take away from this conversation?
I think first and foremost, always, I'll say this probably every episode, but always leverage gaming as a priority marketing initiative for you.
We should just make that a sting.
Yeah. Just like maybe a button.
Yeah. Just make it a priority.
I think key takeaway number one would be if you're already showing up in sports, there's a clear way to transcend that message into gaming and get so many more eyeballs on what you're doing.
Yeah. I think also sponsorships and brand activations in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So like she said, if you're already partnering with or in a certain field of sports, I'm not using the right word, in a certain field of sports, then it's really easy to like try to find that game equivalent and get what you're doing outside IRL into the game itself.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the last one is when you're thinking about influencers, it doesn't have to be all separate.
Yeah.
You can, work with a mix of influencers that do a little bit of everything. So if you work with a Tim the Tatman, and I'm just keep using him as an example, but there's so many more, you can reach the gaming audience and a sports audience. So I think it's being smart about how you're spending your money and reaching multiple audiences at the same time with one tactic.
Totally.
Cool.
So go football this weekend. Go sports.
But yeah, I think that concludes our sports episode. But now we have to get into our speed run. Can you do like every time we do speed run, can you do like a little speed run?
Speed. I shouldn't shimmy. It's probably inappropriate.
Just your arms, please. Speed run is what's happening now. We recap newsletters. The sources will be in the description, but just quickly recapping articles for you of what's happening in the space right now.
All right. Mr. Beast Games on Prime Video set a viewership record with 50 million global viewers in 25 days, becoming the second most watched new series of 2024 behind only Fallout. This highlights the growing power of retail media networks as full funnel marketing platforms where entertainment, commerce, and data converge, offering brands a major advantage if they adapt.
Transmedia.
Hashtag transmedia.
Okay. In an effort to cater to Gen Z's values, PA Consulting has created the new Lattice controller, combining sustainability and customization to appeal to young gamers. While gaming often prioritizes performance upgrades, the Lattice controller focuses on enhancing the gaming experience by reducing waste with AI-driven design, simplified repairs, and easy upgrades. Say that 10 times fast. But I think just to recap there, a lot of controller updates we see are, like they say, gameplay, game-enhanced performance. This is all about what you need, the design, the sustainability. It's more, I think, falls into the cultural side than the competitive.
Totally. Differin, the acne care company, has been making moves in the gaming space and most recently became the first acne brand in Roblox. The launch of its Level Up Lobby, an interactive space featuring mini games like Foam Blaster, Zit Zapper, aims to educate players about acne care. Players earned in game rewards and exclusive items with bonus power ups available by uploading receipts from real world different purchases.
For a brand that you would think wouldn't fit in gaming, they're doing it right.
Yeah, they
Also,
figured it
as
out.
a pimple popper enthusiast, the original simulation game that I played, Zit Zapper is where it's at. Okay, in times of disaster, the gaming community has proven its ability to come together and make a real world impact. We've seen initiatives from Call of Duty, Riot, and so many more companies to support recovery efforts for the devastating wildfires in California. Both Riot Games and Call of Duty have launched in-game fundraising initiatives where 100% of proceeds from specific DLC packs and in-game purchases will go towards relief efforts, enabling players to contribute to the disaster recovery while also playing their favorite games. Love that authentic way to raise money. Hearts go out to everyone in California affected, but I think
Yeah,
I love to see the community coming together.
totally. All right. And that's our quick little snack size episode this week.
Yep. See you next episode.
Thanks, Sammy.
Bye.
Bye.